Yo, this is Terrance Gaines, aka Brother Tech,
And this is Nica Montford, aka Tech Savvy Diva.
and welcome back to the Snob OS Show, the show for Apple snobs, where we talk all things Apple and then some. We definitely want to welcome you back to another episode of the show. This is episode 252 of the Snob OS Show. As per usual, we always want to thank everybody for your continued support. If you want to become a financial supporter and help us keep the lights on, help us keep doing these cool things, please go to patreon.com/snoboscast. And in return for your support, you will get access to the show live as we air it. So that means you'll get it a little bit earlier. So you don't have to wait till it shows up on Friday. And you get exclusive content that you do not get on this actual show. So if you feel like you're getting FOMO, you're missing out, go ahead, drop us a couple of dollars and you can get access. So having said that, as always, we're always going to start the show with the lowdown where we talk all things Apple. I was having a tough time coming up with anything not Vision Pro.
Right.
So I couldn't do it. So I did come up with just one story, and I'm gonna cover some other things. But real quick, of course, the Vision Pro is out. People love it. People are still questioning the cost.
hmm
People are still kind of questioning the use case, but
hmm
from what I've seen, people enjoy it so much so that Apple is already pushing out some updates. I think Nika, you mentioned last week about a update last week, and it looks like there is a Vision OS 1.1 beta that's already in the works. And
Nice.
according to the stories that I've seen on the internet, I think the main um, issue or challenge or fix that Apple put in the beta is the personas. And basically, what the personas are on the Vision Pro is if you FaceTime somebody, when you FaceTime them, since they can't see your face because it's covered up by the Vision Pro glass, the
hmm
headset, the Vision Pro scans your face from the inside and creates a persona.
hmm
When the Vision Pro first came out, people were kind of freaked and weirded out
Yeah.
by the personas and the way they looked, right? They kind of
Yeah.
looked creepy. Some people were mentioning that the eyes are kind of cross-eyed and some weird stuff going on, right? So it looks like Vision OS 1.1 beta fixes or enhances or makes those lifelike personas look a little bit better. So just wanted to give the heads up on the Vision OS 1.1 beta. As an extension of that, I guess we can kind of talk about, what you've seen as far as the reviews. Have you been
Mhm.
into the Apple Store yet to kind of take a look or do the demo? What have you seen about the Vision OS? I mean, Vision Pro in general, that some points that you've seen or something that you think is working or not?
Great. So for the most part, it's been positive.
Hmm.
Like you mentioned, I think before it was even released, Marcus Brownlee and a couple of the other big Apple influencers, they did a group FaceTime. I think it was three of them with
Hmm.
it, and they were talking about how they liked the personas. To
Hmm.
me, the personas look very video gamey,
Hmm.
like high end video gamey, but still
Hmm.
kind of video gamey. It doesn't necessarily look like
It's
the
not a
one to
live,
one.
yeah.
Yeah, it's not a live to live, a one-to-one,
Mhm.
reflection of you. It's to me, it looks like a video game, a really good one,
Mhm.
video game of you, um, presented. Um, I've seen, some people say, they can see where this could really blow up. Uh,
Mhm.
People are enjoying it. I did see some people who say they canceled theirs after they start seeing some of the who ordered and they were like, got a later delivery date. They're like,
Mhm.
yeah, I don't think I want this. I'm going to get my money back and go buy me something else.
Well,
And
they
I
just wanted it day one, and once they found out they couldn't get it day one, it's like, "Oh, I don't want it anymore."
I did see some of that, and like I said, I did see some people who were okay with getting it later, and they were like,
Mhm.
when they saw some of the graphics and some of the feedback, they were like, "Yeah, I don't think I
Mhm.
really want this. I don't think this is for me."
Right.
Um, I did
So
see some
go ahead.
people complain about um, maps, how it didn't look great, and the images, the video that I saw of it, I have to agree. But again, when you do a first generation device, something that's completely new, something, I mean, it's, to me, it's to be expected. So I really wasn't surprised by any of the not positive, I won't even say negative, but the not positive responses to it, as anything other than it's brand new. People are just getting it, people are figuring it out, people are trying to figure out what they're going to use it for, how it best works for them, where this can go, what the improvements are. But I think, it's a pretty good first attempt. Again, the price tag, but there are people again who bought it, who will buy it. I saw somebody say they went in the store and they were able to pick one up in the store and with no problem. So I think that may, lead to the fact that, they maybe didn't sell as many as they expected on the initial offering, because you can go and pick it up in the store. But
Well, that's kind of always been the
but
case
that's yeah,
as
that's
of
all I was say.
late.
It's always the case. People have been able to go in and pick up iPhones, Apple Watches, iPads, whatever in the store. So it's not necessarily a direct one-to-one link, but the fact that you're able to go into a store and buy one if you want, it gives people, the option. Maybe some people weren't really on board with it, and after they saw it, it was like, you know what, let me get into this, and they went into the store and picked it up. So I think it's a good first step. Like I said, the biggest, downside to me is the cost. But again, we don't know what's in the guts of these headsets. So depending on what Apple can activate on these chips at a later date, or different apps that they already have planned to launch, you just don't know. So it's one of those things where you roll with it, or it's your thing, or it's not.
All right. Well, back to the personas. Actually, on my podcast with Rob Dunwood and Stephanie Humphreys, we call the Tech John. We had Lamar Wilson on earlier this week, and he had one, so he kind of ran us through. And as
Hmm.
far as the personas, even though they don't have that one-to-one live, what you think of when you do FaceTime. When you're doing
Hmm.
FaceTime, you think I'm talking to your face. Well, again,
Hmm.
like I mentioned, they have to create a virtual avatar because your face is covered up. One
Right.
of the things that Lamar mentioned was, and what he was surprised that he was actually looking for, and he was pleasantly surprised, is the skin tone. Because, of course, with Black people, you know, we really don't get the
They could really
best.
muck that up.
Yeah, we really don't get the best when it comes to how it looks, from video games to
Yeah.
cartoons to, virtual reality, right? So I think he was enamored by the fact that Apple, when it comes to skin tone in the Vision Pro, as far as these virtual personas or avatars, they actually got it right. He mentioned how it matched his skin. They got his blemishes, everything looked, even though it looked like you mentioned, a virtual avatar,
Hmm.
Apple did a good job of catching different personas. He mentioned he FaceTimed with one of his friends who happens to be Filipino, and
Hmm.
that person also mentioned how, and he mentioned that when looking at her through this virtual avatar, looking at her virtual avatar,
Hmm.
it picked up on her skin tone to where it wasn't just like a one size fits all, which is what it
Nice.
usually is with
Right.
us. So I will say shout
Or
out to Apple.
janky.
Right. So shout out to Apple for getting that right. Hopefully they keep releasing updates to make this thing look crisper and smoother. So
Nice.
speaking of Vision Pro, like I mentioned, of course, everybody went and got one for the most part. And of course, whether it be stupidity or clout chasing, people are doing the most with
Absolutely.
these Vision Pros. Some of the videos that I've seen already, people are walking through the streets with these things on. Now they are
Hmm.
portable because it has that
A
extended battery
battery
pack
pack.
that you can purchase and you can shove it in your pocket and you can actually use it like when you're traveling, whether it be airplane, train,
Hmm.
if you're a commuter or whatever the case may be. But of course, people are taking that to the extremes, to where people are walking around the street with these things on. There was one guy sitting in the subway, doing it while he's sitting in subway, which of course is crazy to me because as expensive this thing is, you
To get
are begging for somebody to take this off of your head. But again, like I said, whether people don't think that far in advance, or the clout will, clout above all, they are doing
yeah.
those things. People are going to restaurants with these things on. But the one thing that I wanted to focus on was
Mhm.
I saw a video of this dude in a Tesla with autopilot on, got the
Mhm.
Vision Pro on his head, and you can see him in the video doing the little
Yeah.
gestures and things like that in the driver's seat with autopilot on. We've already talked about how suspect autopilot is. It's in beta, all the stories about people
Yeah.
crashing, all this stuff, but that don't stop people from doing crazy things. And I guess I'm surprised, but I'm not, that people are doing the most with these Vision Pros, including Vision Proing while driving, or driving while Vision Proing, I guess is what the term is.
And I think Apple is probably going to have to put out some sort of statement that they don't recommend this because, hello, lawsuit. If someone has this thing on and they're driving and they have a wreck and they harm themselves, they harm someone else, they damage, other people's property, then, you can go after the individual. But let's be honest, in accidents and that type of thing, people go after the insurance company. They don't go after the person because that's where the most money is. And anytime you can sue Apple because the pockets are deep, um, that's who they're going to go after. So I don't know what type of safety litigation like policies they have put in place for this because again, people are just like you said, cloud above all. They're just out here just like, hey, look at me, look at me. And
They,
this
uh,
isn't smart, people. And we
mhm.
already know Americans aren't very smart. You shouldn't be driving down the interstate, clicking, pinching or doing whatever with this headset on, driving down the interstate with other people. This isn't smart. You
That's,
shouldn't be doing this, but what? They're doing it.
and so you mentioned Apple should put out an advisory. They do have an advisory, but it's not for, I guess, which is crazy. Apple, to me, this says Apple's underestimated what people will do with the Vision Pro, because they do have a health advisory for the Vision Pro mixed reality headset, and it says Apple's health advisory primarily targets individuals with a range of medical conditions. These include migraines, chronic headaches, dizziness, vertigo, visual abnormalities, psychological disorders, inner ear complications, and seizure disorders. Company
Jesus.
highlights that the use of the MR headset might exacerbate symptoms in such individuals, potentially leading to discomfort or even injury. They also have an extra caution for pregnant women. They also have recommendations for safe usage, but it all goes around to, these include using the device while seated, engaging with less immersive experiences during initial usage, limiting the duration of each use, and taking frequent breaks. All
Mhm.
that's fine. What it's missing is, don't do this while driving. Be safe. Make sure you're in a safe environment by using these things.
Yeah.
And I think Apple didn't put out that specific advisory, but I think there's another group that actually, in response to people using these while driving, not necessarily passenger, using this while driving. I think another group put out an advisory. I can't think of the group. I'll have to look it up. But
Yeah,
I,
I'm looking in the article that you have from Vice,
mhm,
and they say with the guy who is driving in his car,
mhm,
you can add the notes to the image, and it says, "Don't use Vision Pro while moving vehicle, distracted, blah blah blah." And so they put a couple links in there to Apple, to the California traffic safety, and to another policy account. But like you said, the Apple link doesn't say anything about driving, but the distracted driving from California Office of Traffic Safety did, add some things about this because it's similar to using your cell phone a lot. Most states have, you can't, it has to be hands free, that type of thing. But technically, isn't the Vision Pro hands free because it's on your head? You're not touching it. So technically it's not. So it's a huge gray area, and
it shouldn't
I'm
be.
surprised
Like,
it.
don't be stupid.
But Americans are stupid.
Yeah, we are.
That's the
We
point.
are.
You you can't expect people to do the right thing because
Right.
They won't. They
Hmm.
just they won't. And so I'm surprised that Apple Legal hasn't done anything or
Hmm.
made a statement or even did a FAQ about it.
Hmm.
Um, because again, it makes them susceptible to lawsuits. And honestly, outside of lawsuits, just public safety, because people could get really hurt um, from this because people are reckless. If you're reckless enough to know that you shouldn't be doing this, same with holding your phone in your hand while you're driving, texting. You got a whole virtual environment. You could be watching a movie, you could be doing email, you could be doing a whole bunch of crap, and you still choose to do it. Again, it's only released in America, and we know how entitled Americans are. I paid for this. It's mine. It's in my car. It's in my this. It's in my that. And
And
they feel that they can do what they want.
I don't even think it's that. I think people know that this is going to get views, this is going to
Mm,
get clicks, this is going to get attention. So
yeah.
damn the health risks, damn the safety risks, damn the guidelines.
Let's get these clicks.
Let's get these views, let these get these clicks because it works. We're talking about it. I mean,
Yeah.
SnobOS isn't like the premier Apple podcast, right? But
Right.
we're talking about it. So in that case, it works. Now, if everybody ignored them and nobody showed those videos, nobody shared that information, people wouldn't do it. But the fact that
Yeah.
we're talking about it, we're sharing it, the videos get views and views and views. Even if in admonishment, it still gets views.
Yeah.
There's no such thing as bad press. And
They're
that's why I
going to
think,
get these
yep.
influencer checks. They're going to get these checks from YouTube or Twitter or Instagram or however.
Hmm.
And, they're going to get the endorphins from going viral.
Yep. And
And that's just the state of social media right now.
that is
Anything to go viral.
that is the name of the game. All
Yep.
right. So moving on to the next story. This is Apple Watch story. Apple Watch specifically has been in the news as it relates to its blood oxygen sensor on the newer Apple Watches. And
Hmm.
they're still embroiled in that patent to where they can't, or there's been a current ban on selling watches with that feature. So Apple's just pretty much disabled that feature for new devices going forward. But on
Hmm.
the bright side, they do get a little good news in the courts, not related to this, but related to something else. I'm just going to read this quote. A U.S. District Court judge ruled that Apple will not have to face a trial over third party access to Apple Watch heart rate data following an antitrust suit filed by Alive Core, which claims to have developed the world's first personal ECG with Cardia band. So I'm assuming there's some sort of band that hooks onto the Apple Watch that does a better job of the EKG readings. Accused Apple
Um,
of using quote tax tactics in the heart rate analysis market that have injured competition, reduced consumer choice, and potentially damaged public health. So basically, what that boils down to is Apple, maybe a series or so back, announced this EKG thing that you can do the EKG on your whatever and get your heart rate or whatever the case may be.
mhm.
This Alive Core developed a band that could then strap onto the Apple Watch and get you better readings, yada, yada, yada. Apple said, no, stop it. That's not what it's for. We ain't done that yet. So
Mhm.
they pretty much nuked Alive Core's ability to create this band that does this EKG. EKG got
Okay.
Alive Core got mad, took them to court and said, hey, Apple is stifling competition, reducing consumer choice, and potentially damaged public health because people can't use the feature. This district court judge ruled that Apple does not have, basically, they threw it out because Apple does not have to automatically allow third party access to its own features. So, yes, you could say Apple's being stingy, but at the same time, Apple doesn't necessarily have to offer third party access to all its features that it announces or releases in their devices, this being one of those cases.
Okay, so I'm a little confused. So I know you have the EKG. You can, click the little heart thing. It takes your rate. So this company created a band that
Mhm.
basically does the same thing
And maybe have
that
some
the
extra
watch
features,
does,
let you
and
let
it
you do some other
okay.
stuff. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But for the most part, that's the predominant function of it.
Mhm.
And then Apple says we aren't going to allow you to have the app that does this
They just turned off the functionality for them to be even to even be able to do it,
to you. Okay.
which
Okay. Gotcha. Gotcha.
which pretty
Gotcha.
much canceled
They're dead in the water.
their whole thing, right?
But you
So
can't get mad at someone because they don't want you to use their own technology
mhm.
that's the same thing as theirs.
Well, you
That's
can get mad
interesting.
and you
I
can
mean, you
sue,
can, but
but that don't necessarily
that
mean you're
seems
gonna
stupid.
win, but
Yeah,
that don't ever stop nobody from suing nobody any other
true.
time.
What am I thinking? We got sue culture. I don't know. It just wasn't really, it was like, why are they mad that they have a product that's in direct competition with
What Apple's doing.
Apple,
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
but you made this? And then you
Yep,
got mad because it was like, you can't use our stuff to make money.
yep, and
That's what threw
so
me off. I was like, wait a minute, am I missing something here?
yep, so I did a little search on the Cartier band. It's $200 for this band, and according
Almost
to
as
the
much as a
description,
watch. The SC.
according to the description, the only EKG solution for Apple Watch Series 1 through 3, FDA cleared, clinical grade, wearable EKG, replaces your Apple Watch band for an EKG anytime, anywhere. Cardia band provides accurate and instant analysis for detecting atrial fibrillation, bradycardia, tachycardia, and normal heart rhythm. Simply place your thumb on the integrated cardia band sensor to make a medical grade EKG in just 30 seconds, which is in direct competition to
Right.
what you can do on the Apple Watch by taking your finger and holding it on the crown while you have that
Yeah.
EKG thing open, and it does the exact same thing. So basically, they
Why
took
didn't they just
Apple.
make a display with their band?
I don't know. But I guess it makes sense for Apple as a business. As a now, again, to my listeners, I know you're probably like, Apple's just being some busters, right? Put yourself in the be objective here and put yourself in the place of Apple. You have created a device and you've created a feature within that device that enables your users who buy your device to do XYZ. Another brand comes along, hooks into your device, hooks into your feature, and then charges people to do the same thing, if not better, off of your functionality. They didn't make their own functionality. They didn't create something brand new. They took yours and made something that they could profit off of. And you mean to tell me you're going to be like, oh, that's the game? No, you're going to cut it off and say, do your own thing. So
And the thing is, I'm looking at the website where you can purchase this, and they're using the actual Apple Watch in their marketing tools.
and it does the same thing. You have to, instead of putting your finger on the digital crown
You
and
put it
holding
on
it
this,
there, you put it
yeah,
on this little metal plate on the band, which is the same. It'd be one thing if they said cardia band. You don't even have to put your finger on a thing. The built-in pressure of the band enables you to
right.
always monitor your EKG. No,
You
they're
could
doing
have a
the same.
continuous monitoring.
Right. And so I can understand.
I get this. I get this.
Yeah, yeah. Why Apple's like, nah,
Yeah, I get it.
nah.
Try again,
Yeah.
Busters.
All right, so the last story I have in the lowdown seems as this Apple stays losing in the box office. Their Apple has put a lot of money into creating original content on their devices, but in addition to that, they have also put a lot of production, a lot of money behind putting content movies into theaters. Uh, the most recent one was Argyle. I did not know that that was a Apple TV or Apple production until I found this story to where the opening box office numbers, which for whatever reason that's super important nowadays.
Yes.
If your movie does not make a ton of money in the opening weekend,
And them first
that
weekends is
that
a
is
wrap.
a indicator of how your movie is going to go. And the inverse is also true. opening weekend, it makes a ton of money. That kind of dictates how the rest of your movie is going to go.
Yeah.
Well, this Argyle movie in opening weekend, while it was at the top, only made 34 million. Argyle cost Apple $200 million to make.
Yikes.
So if the opening
Jesus
box office is
Christ.
any indication on how this movie's going to go, Argyle is going to lose money for Apple. A couple other movies, Killers of the Flower Moon. Everybody loved it's Oscar season. Everybody's talking Oscar, 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 yada yada yada.
Yeah, they got all the nominations
hmm
for this.
Opening not overall. It didn't mention the opening week, but opening weekend. But overall, it made 150 million. But again, that one cost 200 million to make. So they didn't lose as much, but they still are losing in what the cost to make it versus how much revenue they generated off of it.
Mhm.
Same thing with Napoleon. That was a big thing, Apple movie. That barely broke even at 200 million grossed. So I guess my question to you is Apple just doing this because they got the money like that? Because they definitely have the money. But
Mhm.
I mean, is this any sort of indication on what Apple can do in the box office? Should they just stick to releasing their stuff on their platforms, or should this is just keep grinding until they make a hit with one?
I think honestly, I think it's Apple itself because they have great content. Even if you just, go to the Apple TV Plus app, they have
Mhm,
some really great series. I just think whoever they have running Apple TV Plus, they're completely blowing this because
mhm.
again, they have some really well done lessons in chemistry. I recently watched that. I watched that I think last month.
Me and my wife watched
Amazing.
Monarch, the whole Godzilla backstory. That's pretty good.
Yeah. I like
Severance.
Swagger. Yeah,
Uh-huh,
Severance,
uh-huh,
Hijack.
uh-huh.
There are they have a lot of good programming and it's really, really well done. Whoever is running their marketing budget, whoever
For the
is
theaters, for the production, the full,
for
yeah.
both for the theater
Uh-huh,
because you didn't really see a lot of buzz. Like I said, when until you mentioned it, I didn't realize Argyle was a Apple production.
uh-huh.
You see a little bit, but you don't. I don't think people really do, the full press runs like they used to anymore. And I think if some of these companies, particularly someone new to the game like Apple, I think they need to go back to the OG way of marketing films.
Mhm. Well,
um, you
so
can't
I
just
will
go solely on name anymore, and
right.
I think they're really missing the mark and missing even though they have a ton of money, who doesn't want more money? I think they're missing out on a lot of opportunities to make so much money, not only from the TV programming, but also for the movie box office programming as well. It's insane to me because
Right,
it's not like the programming is bad. It's really
right.
good, actually.
But what I will say though is, just over 20 movies worldwide in general, not just Apple, just any production studio that puts out a movie just
Mhm,
over since 2020. Now, this is
mhm.
not since 2023. Since 2020, just over 20 movies worldwide have managed to make more than 500 million gross from the box office. The estimated cost of a movie like Killers of Flower Moon, Napoleon Argyle, it's just, it seems like even though we're just focusing on Apple, according to that, what I just read, it seems like it's a
It's an
industry
in
issue.
yeah.
So maybe it's not just Apple. Maybe, like I mentioned, Apple just needs to keep chugging until trends start to change. Because I think since the pandemic,
Yeah.
I think since streaming, we as the moviegoers have just been okay with just watching it on streaming.
Why
you
I
know,
gotta go out to the movies? We had 3 years in the house, and y'all brought the movie straight into my living room.
immediately,
I could keep on my pajamas, I could eat my own snacks. Now
right,
you want me to go back outside?
right,
Mm-mm, just
and
keep
I
them coming to the house. So
right,
I get that, and I think any comparison that we have between, 2020 up to even 2023, I think those numbers are going to be skewed. I don't think they're going to give us the full picture because there was a lot of stuff going on in those 3 years. And post pandemic, pre pandemic and post pandemic, the way things work, pre-pandemic, then you have the time we were in, we're still in the pandemic, obviously, but the when people cared about it, to post quote unquote pandemic, things they're gonna have to rework some things to try and get people back in movie theaters, similar to getting people back into the office.
Or not, or things change. It's like, I don't know why we are fighting, or people in general fighting so hard against change. It's like everybody wants to go back,
Money.
or everything wants to stay the thing. Well, you can make money adapting, evolving, and changing. It's just like these companies are, just society in general seems like we're fighting against things changing, which
Anything new, it's
the
like,
only
nope,
thing is constant is change. So what do,
absolutely.
just
But
change up. Just change it up. All right, so that is going to do it for the lowdown. We're going to move into second string. I really don't have a story to report on, but I pulled the trigger and canceled
okay.
my Amazon Prime membership. And I just wanted to
Let me
kind of,
clutch my pearls. Oh my
right, right,
God.
right. So just kind of wanted to talk about streaming, subscriptions, that kind of all
Mm,
kind of went into deciding to finally cancel my Amazon Prime membership. Now,
okay.
I will give a what is it called? Um,
Disclaimer.
yes, a disclaimer that even though I canceled it, the subscription doesn't end until June. But I went ahead and said, canceled it now, and says, okay, when June is up, I no longer have access to all of the benefits that Amazon Prime offers.
Offer.
And I'm okay with that. And I just kind of wanted to talk about it. And some of the reasons why was, when it first came out, it was not necessarily revolutionary, but it kind of,
Kind of was.
I'm not a, yeah, I'm not a shopper. When I see something I want, I don't have to go compare. I don't have to coupon clip. I don't have
Mm,
to think about it and sleep on it. I want it, I see it, I get it, right? So Amazon appealed to me originally for that feature, for that reason, because everything was on Amazon,
mhm.
and with the ability to get it quicker, right?
Mhm.
Because I also am I don't like waiting.
Mhm.
So I would rather get up and go get it versus having to wait 5, 7 days, right? So
Yeah.
when Amazon Prime came out with their 2 day shipping and it was free, I was like, I could wait 2 days,
Yeah.
and at $80, that was the value. At $80 a year, I could get stuff when I wanted within a day or two or three,
Mhm.
and the shipping was free, right?
Mhm.
Since then, Amazon has added all these new features,
Yep.
but also has slowly but surely climbed the price to where now, I think I looked at it this year when I renewed the subscription, it was going to be
Mhm.
$140.
Yep.
And I thought to myself, I'm like,
Almost double what it
is
originally
Amazon
was.
right, right. Is Amazon Prime worth $140 a year? And I was like, all right, well, let me think about it. Let me go look at all the features. And here's all the
Mhm.
things you get with Amazon Prime. You get Whole Foods delivery. Well, in addition to getting free shipping, in addition to get it, 2 days, which now, since we're in a big hub, I can't speak for everybody, but since Atlanta is a big hub, I can get stuff same day half of the
Yep.
time, right? So in
Absolutely.
addition to those two things, you get Amazon Whole Foods free delivery, you get Amazon Music streaming, you get Amazon Books to where you can download digital books and read them. You get Amazon Prime Video, and maybe one or two. I think cloud storage. I think you get photos and storage stuff like that. I don't use none of those. I don't get Whole Foods delivered. I don't stream music. I'm an Apple Music. We're an Apple Music family, so we get all our music from Apple Music. So I don't stream any music. I got rid of all my little Echo Dots around the house, so I
Mhm.
don't use that service. I don't read books, so I definitely don't subscribe to getting download digital books from Amazon.
Mhm.
Amazon Prime Video, maybe use that once every other month. And then now, well, not now, but even when I went to go on Amazon Prime Video, it was a crapshoot on whether or not that movie or that show was included in our Prime membership, or I had to pay or rent
Pay.
it, right? So it
Yeah.
was kind of like 50-50. And now they've added in the free, not free, included in Amazon Prime membership, you had to watch Amazon Prime Video with ads now. If I wanted to pay for the ad free version, now I have to pay extra $3 a month.
But
So
before Pay for no ads.
Right, right. But even still, like I said, based on what I was watching, you still had to pay to rent it if it was a
Yeah,
popular title or whatever the case may be.
yeah.
So I did the math and was like, I'm paying $140 for 4 or 5 features that I do not use.
Mhm.
And I was like, you know what? It's just not worth it. And then on top of that, Walmart, Target, Best Buy,
Instacart.
some of these popular big
Yeah,
box, they can get it to you just as fast,
yeah.
almost at the same price. And then to top it off, even though I'm not and I'll no longer be an Amazon Prime user, I'll still use Amazon. And when I buy stuff, 9 times out of 10, it's going to be the same price. And they probably get it to me within 3 or 4 days. So it's almost like, well, why am I paying for this extra feature when I
Yeah,
can just go get it? Number one, I just get up and go get it because in my neighborhood, there's a Target, there's a Amazon, there's a Best Buy, there's a Micro Center,
yeah,
there's Whole Foods,
yeah,
right? Within a 5-10 minute commute.
yeah.
It's like I'm not paying $140 for this.
I'm
And
not
then
paying no more.
right. And then finally, what I noticed is as convenient as Amazon Prime was, I found myself spending more money on Amazon because it was so convenient. I would just click, 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 click. Now that I don't have Amazon, I got to think about it now. It's like, all right, do I really want this? Do I really want to spend it? When before I need some batteries. Click on Amazon.
Click.
I
Yeah.
need some toilet. I need some paper towels on Amazon. Click. Do I need this cable? Click.
Convenience, man.
Right. That
It's
makes
the
it
convenience.
right. The convenience made me spend more money. So what I'm hoping is that once my the access to the Prime membership runs out, I'll
Mhm.
spend less money because I have to think about the purchase. And then two, that will motivate me. Do I really, really want it? And then if I do really, really want it, I have a choice. I can go on Target, I can go on Walmart, or I can just go pick it up.
Yeah.
So I'm getting back to it's like, on top of I'm getting streaming overdose and I'm getting subscription overdose. Y'all bothering me to death. I can't do nothing in the world nowadays without streaming it or I got to pay for some sort of subscription. And I'm just getting tired. So that's my whole
And
little
they're
spiel.
nickel diming, like,
Mhm,
everything, and I don't know if you've noticed, I'm getting a ton of emails from, a lot of subscription services that they've updated their subscription agreement. I don't know if some law or some rule or something happened,
mhm,
but it's, like, all within a week, like, I got a ton of subscription agreement or, user agreement changes,
mhm.
for all of these different services, like, back to back to back, and I'm like, "Yo, what is going on?
I'm guessing
Something's
it's
changed
either
and they're getting something's different, and I don't know
my
how that's gonna affect me yet."
right. My guess is maybe it's some sort of AI stuff, or two, they're about to run the rates up. That's the only thing I can think of to where they
Yeah.
about to raise the price, or they're saying, "Hey, we may use your data for AI, whatever, whatever, whatever." So that's all. I just wanted to do my little spiel about my Amazon Prime membership. Again, I canceled it, but I am still taking benefit, using its
Yeah.
service. But when it runs out in June,
You got a
I'm
few
gonna
more months.
I'm gonna have to figure something else out. So just wanted to put that. Is that something that you would do, or are you not even nowhere near that level yet?
I'm not there yet because I do use the, books a lot because I've been reading. I used to read a lot for enjoyment, and now I have time to do that, so
Mhm,
I'm reading, like, a couple books, a week.
mhm,
So I do use that, but I have been thinking I need to cut back on some things because it's just money is just like it's just
mhm,
like spewing out, and you don't really think about it because, oh, it's only $3.99 here or $1.99 here or 5.9. It's like, because again, nickel and diming, and you don't realize until you look at it all together. Like,
mhm,
I'm spending so much freaking money. Like, my
mhm,
internet was like on the fritz or something last week. It was really weird. And I was talking to the guy while we were waiting for the router to do its thing. I was like, "So, my bill is really high. What can we do to bring this bill down?" And we were talking about all the things, and based on what I use, there was really nothing he could really do to
Mhm.
bring my bill down. So it just made me think I really need to pare back and take a look at what I'm actually paying out each month
Mhm.
for subscription services, for streaming services, for, even, my, because I use AT&T and I have the fiber
Mhm.
internet. But it's one of those things where my thing is all in one. So it's my cell phone, my cable, my
Mhm.
internet, all in one package. Is convenient because I just pay one bill and I'm paying for a bunch of crap at one time. But then when you look at the numbers, like, this is a lot. I don't think this
Mhm.
is right. And then, like you mentioned, Amazon started with like $80, $60, or
Mhm.
whatever it started as. Now it's almost double in price. And it's every single streaming service has gone up. I get
Mhm.
these emails from Apple. Oh, you've been charged. And I'm like, why do I have 5 of these?
Yep, yep, yep.
Go look at the price. It's like, wait a minute, this is $22.99. What happened? It started out as $12.99 like 2 years ago. So it's one of those things where it's just like, I think we're in consumption overload.
Mhm.
And I think it's up, to the individual, obviously. But I really think I need to do like a consumption diet and look at what I'm paying out and assess from there. So you're
Yep.
doing it, with Amazon, but I'm thinking broader that I may need to look at this as a whole,
Well,
as
that's what kinda
yeah.
that's what kinda brought me to Amazon because I was doing that, because I was looking at, all right, um, what are the priorities, not necessarily necessities, because none of it is a necessity.
Mhm,
What are the priorities as far as streaming and subscription services, right?
mhm,
Apple, iCloud, Apple One, that's a priority for me, right?
mhm.
Uh, of course, cell phone is a priority. Internet is a priority. Outside of that, what of these streaming subscription things is like, eh. So I was going through and it's like Netflix, we can put that in the we can put that in the priority thing because there's a lot of stuff that comes out on Netflix that I
Yeah.
enjoy, right? But I've got HBO Max. I'm like, do I really watch HBO Max? And I'm like, there's one show on
Mhm.
HBO Max that I watch, and it's like, do I really want to pay 10.99, 12.99, 14.99, whatever the price
For
is for
one
that
show.
one show? I was like, come on, man, stop tripping. No. So
Yeah.
I was like, all right, get rid of the HBO Max. I'm gonna cancel that subscription. There was then I was like, well, Amazon Prime. I'm like, do I watch Amazon Prime Video? I'm like, no. And then when I do, they want to charge me for the things I want to watch instead of
For
the
the
free
good stuff.
stuff. And then once they kicked into that, oh, well, we're gonna put ads into this thing unless you pay. I was then like, oh no, I don't need Amazon Prime. And then I was like, well, wait a minute, do I even need Amazon Prime? And then I went through, I was like, oh, I don't even need Amazon
I
Prime.
don't
So
need
that's what
none of this.
kind of built me up to that. And I'm kind of on the same boat as you. It's like we as people, not necessarily me as a family,
Mhm.
we need to stop. We need to start to really, like you said, look at what we are consuming, the rate at what we're consuming it, and really say, all right, is there some things I can cut off? Not just for
Mhm.
cost and economical reasons, because this stuff is getting ridiculous.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to subscribe you to something. Everybody wants to pay you for
Everybody got a
things.
plus.
Everybody's got a something, right? But in addition to that is, are we just in general consuming entirely too much?
I think we
And it's
are.
like, what can I limit myself to? Not shut it all off. I'm not one of those all or none people. In a lot of cases I am, but in this case, it's like, I understand entertainment. You want to be entertained, a hard day at work. There's some things you enjoy. There's some artists, entertainers that you enjoy, and you want to enjoy their work, sports,
Yeah.
whatever the case may be. But outside of that, it's like, man, we really need to take a step back. And these companies are
Yeah.
begging for our money. And it's like,
Yeah.
do we have to give it to them
We
though?
don't. We
All right.
don't. But we do.
Yeah.
We
Right.
don't.
All right, so that is going to do it for second string. We're going to move into for the culture, and the Super Bowl is among us.
I can't believe it.
Everybody's
I
yeah,
forgot.
yeah, it's coming this Sunday. This is Super Bowl week, and of course, everybody's doing press runs. Everybody's
Press.
doing media. Everybody's
Media
doing
day.
these things, right? And New York Times put out a story about Travis Kelce, who is the linebacker, no, tight end
Tight
for
end.
Kansas City Chiefs, who are going to be playing against San Francisco 49ers in the Super Bowl. Of course, he's connected to Taylor Swift, and that brings all this extra attention on her, on him, on the NFL, right? So one of the stories in the New York Times, of all places, put out a story about his hairstyle. And basically, I can't get to the story because it's behind a paywall. But basically, what the story did in the New York Times, it
Mhm.
credits Travis Kelce and or his barber for
Mhm.
making his haircut popular. And for
Yes.
those who don't know, we in the hood refer to it as a fade.
It's just a fade.
It's just a
It's a
fade.
fade.
But this
Most
New
black men have it.
New York Times article went so far as to credit Kelce and his barber for making this cut uber popular, that all of these barbershops now, all of the across the country, are
Look at me.
asking
The
for this.
Travis Kelce.
Right, the Travis Kelce is what they called it. They everybody around the world now wants his fade because of Travis Kelce's, right? So it seems like somebody got the word got back to Travis Kelce, and basically he was like, what y'all not gonna do is get me wrapped up in the middle of this appropriation. And basically he says that's
And not
absolute. Go ahead.
no, go ahead.
No, and his quote was in this story that I found in Complex. He says, "That's absolutely ridiculous," referring to the idea that he popularized or created this new haircut. He said with a smile, laughing off the New York Times story, quote, "And to do it on February 1st, which is
Right.
Black History Month, and throw me to the wolves like that." He said, "That's messed up, man."
Mm-mm.
He said, "That's messed up, man. I don't want anything to
Not
do
on
with
the first day of Black History Month.
that." Right. I don't want anything to do with that, man. I got a good fade though. If you need it, I got a guy, and he kind
He
of
told him,
described,
number two, or just
right.
he gave you
He
his
gave
what you
blueprint
need.
on how to
Yeah.
get it, right? He said, but I didn't invent that. I just asked for it, right? So he kind of rejects the idea that he created or made popular this haircut because, like Nica mentioned, this is something, I'm a black man. I've been getting fades since I was 7, 8, 9 years old, right? And it's
Since
always
you
been a
could go to the
fade.
barbershop.
Right. You can, I've been getting this thing forever. So this is if not, we originated it. There's some questions on where it originated from. Some people say it originated from the military, whatever the case may be. But, that is a staple in the black community, especially amongst black men. Right.
We jazzed it up.
Right.
If
Right. Right.
it come
That's
from
been
somewhere else, we made it
right.
our own.
That's been our thing. Right. So on the onset, this mirrors recent trends
Mm,
that have not been appropriately appropriated or connected to black culture, whether it be
mhm.
cornrows, whatever,
Boxer braids, they called them.
whatever they called them, it just goes to show
The
that,
swag surf. Oh my God, a whole New York
right.
Times article
That was
about
another
that.
thing, New York Times article, and I don't know if it's Taylor Swift effect. I don't know what it is. But I want to ask this question, right?
Mm,
Because it's clear that appropriation happens when, and for those who don't know, black people have been very guarded as of late as to what the popular culture attributes to us,
yeah,
right? And the attribution has not been there,
yeah.
right? They haven't. With the goes back to TikTok dances, to where the black kids on TikTok make these dances, and then our counterparts will go on to make millions of dollars, make fame,
Jimmy
go on
Kimmel, Jimmy
shows,
Fallon,
and kind of
NBA. Yeah,
be known for the things that originated with us, right?
yeah.
So I want to ask this question, and this is something just personally I've been thinking about.
Hmm.
Is this in fact appropriation, what they're doing? Or let me present you with this.
Hmm.
We talked about clout chasing earlier in the show. We talked about just doing whatever to get clicks and views.
Hmm.
Is what this New York Times thing recent, is this appropriation? Is this cultural appropriation? Or do people know that we are going to get up in arms about some of these things, and they're just doing it or saying it just because they know we are going to drive the clicks and the views? Because again, we're talking about the New York Times. I don't
Mhm.
read the New York Times. I try not to go to the New York Times. It's just nothing about the New York Times says, ooh, that's something I need to read. But
Right.
because this story originated from the New York Times, all of these other stories link back to the New York Times. And New York Times, like I mentioned, is behind a paywall. Does that get people to subscribe to the New York Times just to read this article and to read other articles? Like you mentioned, the swag surf originated from the New York Times.
Mhm.
Is this a bad press attempt just to get views, just to get eyeballs, just to get clicks, just to get subscriptions? Or is this they are generally trying to appropriate our culture and make it seem like this it's something other than just what we've appropriated or something we've
I
created?
I honestly think it's cultural appropriation, and just the added benefit of the appropriation is the clicks that they get from it.
Mhm,
Because, we've all heard about woke and the misrepresentation of that. We've
mhm,
all heard about DEI and the misappropriation of that. And to me, what it boils down to is the fact that they don't have Black people working in these organizations,
to
because
automatically
it's
shoot it
not like
down.
it's not just like, oh, it's a one off. Oh, it's not. It's systematically, they don't have people working in these organizations. You talked about the TikTok dance thing with the two Black kids making the Cardi B song. They did the dance to the Cardi B song. I
Mhm,
mean, those kids, they did so much. It was great, but it took someone else that was not like them
mhm,
to do it, and do it not as well, for it to get noticed. So I
mhm.
don't think it has anything to do with clicks. I just think people, when they see something that is quote unquote unique or different or cool,
Or
they
trendy,
go
popular, yeah,
trendy, they
amongst certain.
go with what they know. And a lot of times these Black influencers, they don't have the followings, they don't get the influencer packages, deals, and it's one of those things where it's just taken and it's just
Mhm,
appropriated. And then once they realize, oh crap, we messed this up, then they go back and try and fix it. But at the time, the moment's passed, the moment's
right.
faded. And I do have to give Travis Kelce, the credit for calling it out, because I don't blame him for this. You can't. This is a newspaper taking something that they have no clue about. And let's not forget, Travis Kelce was deep into the Black culture for a really long time. He only dated Black women. This Taylor Swift thing is a departure for him. And I just think it's just the added layer of visibility of, because who he's dating, that it
Mhm,
gets kind of pushed up, popped up to the top of things. And
right.
it's one of those things where this has always happened. I saw it on Twitter. This girl made this Black lady made this funny little video about LMAO, and she got a lot of views off of it. Then this girl, this younger white girl, basically took her post, her skit, word for word.
Mhm,
She changed a little bit, but basically word for word, and posted it. She got 10 million views.
mm,
And then when she got called out on it, she
mhm.
eventually took the video down. But by that point, whatever money she makes from her influencer or clicks, she already got it.
Yeah, and that's what leads me to, my standpoint, because
Hmm.
I have noticed in the past 5 or 10 years what gets attention on the internet.
Hmm.
Very rarely does positive news, very rarely does good st and this has maybe been since the invention of media, right? But as the popularity of social media, the popularity of YouTube and TikTok and these social media posts to where people can, you know, instantly the virality of it all, trying to go
Hmm.
viral, trying to get all these different views. I think people have peeped game.
Hmm.
And this is not just with, cultural appropriation, these sort of subjects, just in general. If you go to the comments of any post, close your eyes, pick a post,
Hmm.
read the comments, I have noticed that people are saying things just to get
To get a
a
rise.
response. Not even a rise, just to get a response. And I think with the decline of traditional media, with the
Mhm,
decline of, newspapers, you think of New York Times is a big newspaper, right? They've
mhm,
tried to evolve and go online, but like I mentioned, the original story is behind a paywall, right? I just think that it may be a little bit of both, but I think people have figured out what it takes to get attention. And in this particular subject, with this cultural appropriation, I believe that somebody at the New York Times knew with the swag
mm,
surf, these two subjects, with the Taylor Swift and the swag surf thing, that they try to, oh, look at this new dance. And we like, man, we've been swag surfing since the 90s, right? And with the fade, it's like, man, black people have gotten fade since the 80s, since the 60s, right? I think
since black
somebody
people been black.
right, since black people been black, right? I think they know that, and they know how guarded we are about our culture as of late. We ain't always been this guarded, but nowadays with social media, we can call things out faster, right?
Yeah,
And I think they know that. And they say, all right, what can we do to piss somebody off so we can get attention? It's Super Bowl week. Everybody's talking about the Kansas City Chiefs. Everybody's talking about Taylor Swift. They're in the newsroom. They're like, all right, what can we do? Somebody
mhm,
said, oh, Travis Kelce, he's connected to Taylor Swift. How can we get some burn off of that? Talk about his hair. What is that? He's got this weird fade. Let's just say he made that popular because they know we are going to jump back down their throats and say, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong. And like you said, with the girls that put that post up, that took her word for word,
mm,
yeah, she got mad. Yeah, everybody directed their anger towards her. But by then, she already got the 10 million views. So it's
yeah,
like, my job is done. So I also believe, I'm not saying I don't believe that this is the age old practice of appropriation, but
mm,
even equally, if not more so, people need the name of the game is how many views, how many clicks, how viral can you go? And whatever they need to do that, they'll do it. If that just means a little cultural appropriation, so be it. But I'm gonna get these clicks, I'm gonna get these views, unless, or if I don't, New York Times is gonna disappear because everybody's on TikTok, Instagram, so on and so forth. So,
yeah. And honestly, I think probably in the broader sense, that's that's probably true because you see how it is on people make these hot takes just to get a rise or just to get response, just to get
and we
traction.
fall for it every time you
Right.
say
But I
something,
also
people jump down their throats, and it's like you giving them what they asked for. Go ahead.
yeah, but I honestly I don't think the New York Times is that smart.
Okay. All
Uh
right. All right. Fair
I've
enough.
I've seen the New York Times. It used to be a standard bearer for
Mhm.
news journalistic integrity, but
Mhm.
it's taken a huge right wing slant, and
I,
some of the
I
things
I
they've been
couldn't tell you, so I'll
publishing.
take your word for it because I don't check for them like that.
Yeah, I basically just know because of how egregious some of the things that they have written about, and of
Mhm.
course it hits the timeline. And I
Mhm.
just think it's one of those things where I don't think the New York Times is that smart to be that contrived to say,
Mhm.
yeah, let's do this, just do that. Do I think in a general senses across social media, across traditional media? Absolutely. But for the New York Times, I don't think they're that smart.
Okay. All right. All right. But like I said, we stay on guard for this stuff, and I just
Absolutely. We have to because otherwise it just screws us every
yeah.
time.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. All right, all right. So that's going to do it for the culture. We're going to move into the hookup, and I'm pretty sure I've done this hookup before, but sometimes the simplest answer is the best answer. If you do have an iPhone and you are struggling with intermittent connectivity issues, the Wi-Fi is acting stupid, cellular connectivity is acting stupid, and you've done all the other trial and error, and you've confirmed that your Wi-Fi is working, you confirm that you got signal, you confirm that you paid for your service, so you still
My
got the
bill is
signal,
paid.
right, right, and other devices connect to where your particular iPhone or iPad does not. Probably the first and best way you can do to kind of fix that is to reset your network settings. Now, when I say reset, people think delete. This is not going to delete any data. This is not going to remove any pictures or text messages or anything like that. But you do have to go through the process to reset stuff, right? So I'm just going to go through the steps to actually reset your network settings. You have to open up the iPhone or iPad settings, go to general, go to transfer and reset iPhone. I think that's where people think, oh, this is going to delete some data. No, you
Mhm.
just have to go through that menu to get to the reset network settings. So you go to settings, you go to general, you go to transfer or reset iPhone, you click reset, and then under that, there's going to be a sub menu that says reset network settings. Once you click that and then confirm that's what you want to do, your phone will shut down and automatically restart, and it'll reestablish your cellular connection automatically. But you will have to go in and manually connect back to your Wi-Fi and connect back to some of your Bluetooth devices. Like if you have a Bluetooth speaker or you have anything that's connected to your iPhone via Bluetooth, you will have to go back in and find those devices and reconnect them, with the exception of your Apple Watch. As soon as you
Mm.
turn Bluetooth back on, your Apple Watch, if you have one, will automatically connect. But anything else like a Bluetooth speaker, any Wi-Fi connections, you will have to go through and manually reset those. But luckily, hopefully, once you reset those Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, cellular settings via network reset, your
Mhm.
connectivity issues should be fixed. So that
Oh,
is my tip for the week. If you are experiencing network issues on your iPhone, iPad, definitely try the reset network settings first.
cool.
All right, so that is going to do it for the hookup. And Nika, if you don't have anything else for this week's show, that is
Nope.
going to do it. So, as per usual, tell the folks where they can find you.
You can find me at Tech Savvy Diva everywhere.
All right. And you can find me all over the internet at Brother Tech. That's BROTHATECH. And you can find the show everywhere. But if you just want one place to go, please go to snoboscast.com and get all the details about the show, downloads, find us on social media, and to join our Patreon community where you can get those extra benefits. So until next week, we are out. Peace.
Bye, everybody.